Hello, I have the Accucraft K-36 on the bench still. I did the gaskets and um, O-ring for the gland and O-ring on the piston on both sides. And now if I use my shop air to put some air into the Goodall valve, I can make it run. And it has a little bit of a hitch. I timed the other side already. So right here you can see that when it gets up to the top, it's not switching to pull it forward soon enough. So I will take you through timing on this side. The first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure, I'll turn the throttle off, set the Johnson bar to neutral, that way it's not trying to move on me. What you want to do is set your drive rods to the very bottom of the wheel's rotation. And now what you want to do, I already set this, what you want to do is get down to the level of the axles so that you are looking straight through the axle, and then it is a straight line through this axle. One of the things I use to line up, make sure I'm at the right level, is the oil cup is in the center of the axle, and it is a straight line, the center of this bolt, the center of the axle, and the center of this bolt. Because regardless of where your walscherts or valve gear is pointed, at this location you want to be pointing as hard as possible towards the front to drive this linkage for this for your valving. So if we put a straight edge from center to center and look through, we can see that we are in the center of our axle. With these outside frame engines, it might be easier to, or engines that have a lot of depth here, a little bit of up and down can really change things. So if you set yourself with a measurement of, looks like it's about 73 millimeters, and then I come back here and set it so that the center of my camera lines up with 73 millimeters on the axle, right about there. And then I look at my line. I would say that I am centered. So once you have that set, that's by adjusting this set screw, and that is when you're at bottom of your wheel, you want to be pointing or pushing towards the cylinder. If you were doing this inverse, you can do it from up here if you wanted, with it at the top. You want this as far back, but it still has to line up with this axle, this bolt, and that bolt. So this way you'd be pulling your valve all the way back. Another option that I've seen people do is they will set their links all straight, going through all the axles, and then they This one you can't see everything, so I like the other version better. Now what you want to do is line up this with your axle. But you can't see your axle because your drive rods are in the way. So this method is preferred for me, especially since I have that oil cup. I can tell when I'm down centered. And I just need to make sure that this point, the center of this bolt, and the center of that bolt are in a perfectly straight line. Now your eccentric is set. The next step is to set your slide valve in your chest. So to get to that, there's two little square-headed screws with washers built in, and they're on the valve and cylinder cover right here. I pulled them out already. The next step is to pull off the top of this step. There's two screws here and here going down, and four screws going into the smoke box, two on either side. Once you do that, this step will come out, and then this cylinder cover will come off. These screws require a 2mm driver. Now that that's off, I already pulled these two bolts off. So the cylinder cover will come out, and this steam pipe is part of it. It's decorative. The next step is to pull the 6 pieces of retaining hardware here. There are 4 bolts that are 4mm each, or 4 nuts. Sorry about the banging. There it is, trying to get the nut out of the nut driver. Now, there are 2 Phillips. This is a number 1 Phillips. Make sure you're on solid surface if you have to apply force. And now I have a common screwdriver. I'm going to try to lift the cylinder cover or the valve cover off. Be careful, you don't want to stick this in between the plates. In doing so, you might damage your paper gasket that's underneath there. If you don't damage it, you don't need to replace it. And you don't want to score the sealing surfaces because paper gaskets require perfect surfaces to seal. That all looks good. So now the part of timing. Essentially, what you're doing in here is just setting your valve, your D valve, to have equal travel forward and backward. Let's see if I can't get this better framed. Slide this down and mount. Maybe it'll sit better. Will you focus better? Maybe I have to pick you up some. Well, hopefully you can see what it is that I'm trying to work on. You see, there is a set screw on a collar. That set screw requires a 1/16 Allen. And then what you will see, if I can, that's better, now it's focusing right. As I turn my wheels, I'll get to where I'm trying to see where this thing will have equal travel in both directions. And the way that I'm going to judge equal travel in both directions is off of the, I'm going to have no travel in either direction right now because I'm still in neutral. Or not in gear. There, now I am in forward. So there is furthest aft movement, and then there is furthest forward movement. And that's how your sliding D valve works, is you have pressure coming in through, there's a little port right here, comes into this chest, and then when a port there opens, we're now applying pressure to the front of the cylinder. And exhaust is going through this D cavity that is underneath here. The exhaust port is in the middle, and right now we're covering the aft port of the cylinder. As we slide forward, our steam pressure will cover up all three ports, the D valve will, and shortly thereafter uncover the aft port. You can just barely see it down there. So now, since that one's uncovered, steam pressure is flowing into this valve and pushing the piston forward, and the exhaust is being allowed in that little hole that we just saw got covered up into the D valve and out. Pressure is greater on the outside, so that holds the D valve down. And then the wearing surface just wears in and makes a better and better seal. So it might leak more when it's new, and then wear itself in and stop leaking. So now I need to set so that I have equal travel forward and aft. Since I set my eccentric on this outside already, that's all that matters, as long as it has equal travel forward and aft. So let's see how far it goes aft, referencing my hole. Let's see how far it goes in front of the other one. That's furthest forward movement. the same problem that the other side had. The hole is not entirely uncovered. So what I need to do, I'll turn it through a few more times just to make sure. Here's furthest aft movement. I can see I see all of the hole and then a little bit of the metal after it. And now if I turn it forward, look at the aft hole. We're at full travel, and not quite all of the hole is uncovered. So what I need to do is undo the set screw and slide it forward some. And this will be a little bit of trial and error for me to move the set screw, and then, what's the other one? Is this threaded? The other side didn't spin around quite as much on me. Well, that's as far as it wants to turn. I'm going to roll you straight up. See if I can. Alright, that's as tight as that wants to turn that way. Alright, it's easiest for me to set it with it in the opposite direction. Set this there. This will have to slide forward some. And what I found on the other side was that it just barely uncovers the hole entirely. You should see just the slightest hair of solid material around the hole when the valve slides to uncover it. So now I slide it forward. I take a look at where it's at. See just barely the entire hole is being uncovered. I might need to slide it forward just a little bit more. Make sure that there isn't. We're at the full extent of our travel. Need to slide it forward a little bit more, because if I keep rotating, you'll see that the front hole is fully uncovered. So I need to slide it forward just a little bit. That's really small adjustments. Give that one a try. The entire hole in back is visible. And now if I turn it, the entire hole in front is visible. And if I wanted to nitpick, I would say that I went too far forward by about 1/1000th. This is where it's a little bit of trial and error. mostly error until you get it perfect. All of the hole is visible. So just a little bit more aft movement. If I were to design this, I would do so with a couple of jam screws or jam nuts so that I could give one a partial turn and really fine tune this thing without all this, without so much trial and error and going too far. All of that. There. I'll call that good. So, if you can see, as it slides aft, just barely, all of the hole is visible. And then, as it continues to turn, just barely all of the hole in back is visible. I was working with a shadow. I did not have my light in the right spot. I've got too much travel in the back now. So I'll do it again. All right, let's try that one now. There. I like that better. Some people won't even notice a difference, but I think I will. Now that I've set that, I'll make sure that this is snug, and I'll make sure that I've got this threaded in as tight as I reasonably can. That's tight, and then I'm turning it. It's threaded into the piston slide here. So if I turn on this set screw, he'll turn that in and it's threaded in here. I was trying to make sure it stays in there. Now, I just have to put the valve cover back on and test it. Zoom you guys back out. You can stand back some. Otherwise, all you're going to see is my hand in front of the camera. No, you still just see my hand in front of the camera. Nuts get stuck in the nut driver when I'm taking it out, but I can't use it when it's advantageous, such as when I'm trying to put them on. Now, the rest of this is just decorative, so before I put that together, I can test it. Let's see how she runs now. Open up the throttle. Now, looking at it, I set my travel equal inside. So I have even travel on the inside. The only other thing that's going to affect it is how far this goes will affect how far the valve chest is covered, or each of the admission vents. I believe it is running better than it did before because it's soft starting. And that's the basics for timing it. And if you want it to run better, try it again. You can sit here with both sides open, or open one side, make an adjustment, go to the other side, make an adjustment. This linkage, there's no science about it, or no other science about it. Just make sure it's in a straight line, because all that's going to do is set the travel and the time. Up here, you're just setting the amount of travel fore and aft to make sure it's balanced between the strokes. So if you want it better, try again. That's, I guess, the basics. Thank you.